Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to participate in this webinar, and uh, I hope you feel well in these days. And as you know, in this lockdown situation, all of us try to continue our activities in the way that is possible. So, this kind of webinars should help us in this way. And today, I want to tell you something about my story, my background, and the way that I passed in these 10 years, maybe a little more than 10 years, 12 years. It's something like a story. It's my personal story, but I want to uh, conclude some uh, suggestions and informations, useful informations for you. So I hope you enjoy it. Uh, okay, I use some photos to show you my story. In this first step, you can see my childhood. When I was so young, I was a baby and I was studying in a primary school, and then I grew up, and after 18 years, in 2007, I participated in an international event. It was International Astronomy Olympiad in 2007, and I got a gold medal in Ukraine. And it was something like an achievement for me, but usually we don't see the background, the situation that make that can help you to reach to an achievement. Okay, at that year I was at the end of my high school, and I really loved astronomy, so I started to learn more and more astronomy in high school. We was involved with many astronomical books. Some of them was the books of university, the textbook, the university textbooks, for example, for bachelor level of physics and astronomy in high school, in universities. But me and some of my friends in the school, we really loved astronomy, and we tried to learn these materials. One year after that, I participated again in another international Olympiad. It's 2008 in Indonesia. It was International Olympiad on Astronomy and Astrophysics. And I got a silver medal in that Olympiad. And this photo is when we came back to my country, and the people was uh, staying there, and they wanted to welcoming us after the Olympiad. After that, I started my teaching programs. Here you can see it's about 12 years ago. It's a workshop about astronomical topics for the students. Here is my hometown. When I came back from international competitions, I tried to have some seminars and workshops in my city for the children and the students in high school. And it was my first steps to know how is teaching and how it can be profitable for the audiences. After that, I became the member of Iran, my country, Iran National Astronomy Committee. So every year we teach the students, the special students in my country, to help them to participate in international Olympiads. This photo is 2010 in China. We went there. I was one of the team leaders of Iran. I was so young, but they trusted me to use me as a team leader, and it was a very beautiful experience for me because I can talk with other teachers, because there were many teachers from different countries. They were at that event to participate in international Olympiad on astronomy and astrophysics. For example, from European countries, from I don't know, Asian countries, and we were with together, for example, for 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, and every day we were speaking with together about the situation of education in our countries, and we um, shared many informations with together. This is 1 year after that. It's 2011. It's in Poland. I was also in that year. I was one of the Iran team leaders. At that period of time, I started my teaching programs in different high schools in my country. Most of them was in the capital, but I traveled to different cities, some of the poor cities in my country, and I had this classes. This is 2014, and as you see, it's International Astronomy Olympiad in Kyrgyzstan. I was the only team leader of Iran team at that event. As you see, we had some international events, some meetings, some meetings, and after the exams, we should correct the exams with different language. It was nice experience for me because, for example, I wanted to know what is written in the paper of a student from South Korea, or from, for example, Estonia. And it was beautiful for me to know how other students in different countries they think, and what is the difference between these students. Because I was a teacher in my country, and I was comparing everything with my country and with my situation. I was speaking with other team leaders from different countries, from different cultures, and different religions, different even different skin color, and I was trying to know more about the different educational systems. This is the closing ceremony of that year, 2014. After 2 years, I started to do some different activities, because at that time I was also a science journalist. I was writing some articles in some magazines and some newspapers about science, about popular science. I wanted to introduce science to everybody. Uh, some of them was in childhood, and some of them maybe the students in university, and we tried to write some articles about the news of science and technology. At that time, in 2016, I went to the Ministry of Education of Iran. Before that, I was working with them in some areas, but it was the very strong, most strong activity that I did in Ministry of Education, because we in my country we have some magazines, some special magazines for children in schools. We call them Rosh magazines. The usage of these magazines is for the students, but not as a part of the textbooks. Let me tell you about that. As you see in this photo, you can see here some magazines. You can see here some magazines. آقای دهقانی میشه. Here you can see these students. They were some poor students in the southern part of my country, and we traveled to give them this kind of magazines. As you see in the hand of these students, it's some of our magazines. It was included science, history, some stories, literature, I don't know, everything, new technologies, everything. And what was our purpose? Our final purpose was thinking about the influence of education. When you give some textbooks to the students and you ask them to use these textbooks, and they should participate in some exams, and they must participate in some programs that you provide for them, it's very good, it's very nice. But there is some problem. There is some problem. And that's the force. Because you force them. You ask them to do the homeworks. They must do that. And if they didn't do that, maybe you will punish them. You will maybe sometimes you will speak with the parents, and it's very bad situation for a student, because when we do some activity because of the punishment, when we want to avoid the punishment, it's not enjoyable activity. It's very hard for us. It's very hard situation. But when we do some activity uh, with our self-interest, when, for example, we want to go to mountain climbing, we want to go and, for example, play football, it's it's from our heart, and we want to do that. We want it from our heart, and it's with a self-interest. So it's more efficient. It's more efficient because when you do something that you wanted, that you are interested in, then it's so efficient for you, and it will be more useful for you. So this is our idea. It was our idea when we were preparing this kind of magazines. For example, here you can see uh, one of our titles. Here is it's some article. As you see, it's an infographics about some scientific materials. But when you give this magazine to a student, you will not ask him to do some activity. You will not punish him. You just will give it as a gift, and then it will finish. The student can use the magazine, and even and also he can put the magazine away and don't use it. Okay, so if he start to watch the pages and the pictures, the articles, and if he thought it's useful for me and I love it, I like it, then he will study some articles with his self-interest. And this is very different with the official textbooks. And also in the official textbooks, we cannot provide every subject, because we should follow some national programs, some national educational program. We cannot write everything about the news of technology and sciences. But in the magazine, it's okay. We can do that. So it's the benefit of this kind of magazines. And for example, this magazine that you can watch it, the circulation of that was about 100,000 in my country. 100,000. Also, we had some magazine. We have some magazines with the circulation of 1 millions. Yes, 1 millions, and sometimes 1 millions and a half millions. And it was very profitable for us, and we tried to reduce the cost of the magazine. For example, this magazine is about if I want to change the prices to your prices, for example, in Uganda, it's about just 500 shillings, just 500 shillings. Yes, it's correct, 500 shillings. It's something about uh, 10 cents in US dollars. So it was because we wanted to have more audiences. Here you can see the first page of one of our magazines. We tried to use cartoons, some photos, some beautiful photos, some fantasies to involve the students. That's another first page of our magazine. Okay. Here you can see another photo of my story. It's 2017 in a primary school in Iran. At that time, I tried to know more about primary schools because if we want to think about the result of education, we should go to the root, the origin of education, and the root is primary schools, the kindergartens, and also the primary schools. When the students are starting to know, starting, it's so important. When they try to know more about the world, they wanted to know more about the planet, the environment, and everything. And also at that time, I have some classes, some special classes for high school students, because at that time the students are ready to go to university, and sometimes they are ready to go to the job positions, the business, some business. They can do some technical jobs in the business. Here you can see we were absolutely friends. We were absolutely friends because uh, the difference, our age difference wasn't so much. So we were like friends with each other, and it was very enjoyable classes. This is Iran National Astronomy classes. These students was some elites. After many exams, they were elected. Yes, they were selected after some exams, and 10 students from them was participating in international Olympiad. This is another activity that I did that year. It's the book that I wrote it. I have written this book about astronomy Olympiads. Also here you can see an astrolab. I designed this astrolab myself, and the idea was using this kind of materials for the students, because when a student want to know more about some knowledge, it can be useful for him to use a book or an instrument like an astrolabe, or sometimes a telescope, a microscope, and something like that. All of the instruments that can be useful for the students. Here you can see some of my students. Now they are starting uh, their university, the bachelor level in university. Okay, in 2018, I went to Dubai to participate in an educational exhibition because it was the international event, that many people from different countries were coming, and they wanted to know more about the materials that can be useful for education. For example, here it's something about electricity. If you notice to my hairs here, there are some of them are straight because of the electricity. Okay, I was wondering because there was many different technologies. For example, here at the left of the photo, the left photo, you can see a smart board, and also here you can see some different instruments that can be useful in the schools. I was wondering, oh, for example, because I didn't have some of them in my experiences. I didn't have some of them in my schools and my classrooms. And I was thinking, okay, maybe that's the point, that maybe in rich countries they can improve the knowledge of the students. But I saw this lady. He was the owner of a startup from Finland. Maybe you can search about Finnish educational system. In Finland, it's very famous that when in all around the world we test all of the students, and we want to know where in which country the education is more efficient. We find out this place is Finland, and this lady was coming from that country, and he was the owner of a startup that was working absolutely in educational activities. And okay, I was thinking maybe they have many technologies in their country, and maybe they have many developed technologies, and they use these smart boards and maybe smart chairs, smart rooms, and everything is online, everything is every day they are using laptops, and maybe that's the reason that the educational system, the Finnish educational system, is more useful and more efficient. But when I spoke with this lady, I found out no, it's wrong. The difference is in the paradigm. Because, for example, in my classes, I tried just to teach something to my student, but they tried to make the students to think more. It wasn't necessary to teach them many subjects, materials, many formulas, and blah 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 blah. They just was thinking about make the seed of thinking in the mind of students. It's it's the most important difference between Finnish educational system and other countries' educational system. They tried to make they tried to improve critical thinking And it's the most important, not the smart boards, or I don't know, the laptops, the iPods. No, no, no. The most important difference is the idea, the way that a teacher try to teach students. It's the most important thing. It's the most important difference. I will tell more about this. I will tell more about this because it's very, very important, and the main key that we can use it to change our classroom level. Also, I tried to speak with the teachers from different countries. Here you can see a lady. She is from South Africa. Yes, South Africa. And here in the top, you can watch another lady. She was from Turkey. And another lady, she was originally from India, but she was the STEM teacher in Dubai. What's STEM? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And she had a good salary in Dubai, more than her own country, India. But also, she tried to provide best story for every classes. For example, every day she tried to do a new activity, a new story. The storytelling is very important. When we want to tell the students uh, about a topic in science, it's very important to start with a story. It's very important. Storytelling is the most important instrument of all of the teachers. But the lady from South Africa, when I asked her about her experiences, she told me there are many students inside the classes, and sometimes when I go to the class, I saw some of them are so hungry. Yes, the students are so hungry. So if you are a professional storyteller, okay, it's not important because your audience is not thinking about you. He or she is not hearing your voice because she or he is hungry. He need, for example, a breakfast before the school. And it's very important. It's very important problem in Africa. And very, very important problem in um, East Africa and Central Africa. As you know, in, for example, in Congo, in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Kenya, in Ghana, that's the most important problem that we should solve it. Because if a student is hungry, you cannot do anything. You cannot improve your classroom. Everything is after that. When the students say, "Okay, I had a breakfast and now I'm watching you and I want to know more about the world." But if he or she is so hungry, he or she cannot think about anything. He or she cannot hear your voice. That's very important. I will tell more things about this problem. I will tell you. Okay, this is previous year, 2019. At that time, I became the chairman of Asian Pacific Astronomy Olympiad. We had this event, we call it APAO. We had this international event in my country with many participants from different countries, different Asian countries. And here it's the cake for the birth of this international event. And it was very good experience for me because I was the chairman of this event. You can see some photos me with students from Russia, from China, from some of them from Iran and different countries. And here, it's about 2 months ago. Yes, my face is a little changed, but it's this year. Then I tried to travel to Africa because I'm an experienced traveler. I wanted to know more about the problems in education in East Africa. Yes, I traveled to Kenya at first. For 1 month, I was living in Kenya. I tried to go to many different schools, some private schools and some uh, public schools, and I tried to know more about the educational system of Kenya. Here I was teaching to these students optics. Yes, it was the physics classroom, and I was trying to teach them something about optics and the light and something like that. Here, two students, they are my students, they are trying to do some activity uh, on the blackboard. That's another school. It was a small village near Nairobi, and I had some speech for the students, and I tried to know more about uh, the problems. Yes, the problems that the teachers and school managers they should deal and cope with them. After that, I came to uh, Uganda. Here you can see some of my friends. This girl is from Germany, and she also wanted to know more about the educational system in Kenya. And here is my activity in Uganda. It's absolutely yesterday when I went to an orphanage to teach something. Okay, let's continue. Here I was the guest in an orphanage house, and I wanted to teach something to the students, but I found out they didn't pass school grades well. Some of them, for example, they were, for example, 15, but they just had 2 years in primary schools or 1 year in a primary school. It's very bad. It's very bad for a teenager because with education you will make your future, and if you didn't have a good education, so um, the rest of your life will be damaged because of that. I try to tell them something, some stories that can help them to help each other and use the maybe some opportunities, some small opportunities to improve their knowledge. And I ask them to do some homeworks and activities up to next week that I will go there and speak with them again. Okay, now I want to start my second part of my speech. What should we do? We know the problems. All of us want the better future. Uh, it, it's the same in all around the world. In my country, the teachers want to do their best for the future of my country, and here in African countries, the teachers want the better future. They wanted to change the maybe the future of African countries, like for example a normal country with enough income and Then the people can send the children to school, and they will not live below the extreme poverty. And that's what all of us thinking about that. And the idea is what Nelson Mandela said. You know Nelson Mandela, he said education is the most powerful weapon to change the world. Yes, education, it's the most powerful weapon. And that's what we have. And we want to change the world, the Africa continent future with this weapon. It's what we can do. And I want to ask you to help me, and I will help you because it's important for me to do some important steps to change, to make a little change. It's enough. If we can change something a little, then everybody will do that. And after a few years, after 10 years, after 100 years, everything will change. Everything will change. It's the way that the people can change the situation of their country. For example, let me tell you some story here. Here you can see me. I'm from Iran. And here you can see my friend from Kenya. And here she's Laura from Germany. In At that day, we were speaking about the punishment in the school. Okay, you know it's usual and common in some countries in Africa. But we were thinking about that, and we said it's not a good way. It's not working because, as you know, in European countries, nobody will punish a baby, a child, to do, for example, his homework and do something like that. And I want to tell you some important sentences about this idea. My friend, my Kenyan friend, told us nowadays in Kenya it's changing. He said, when I was at high school, it was usual to beat students, to punish the students. Then I said, when I was at high school, it wasn't common in my country. But my father told me when he was at high school, it was usual. Then a girl from Germany said, in my age, when I was in high school, it wasn't usual in my country. Even when my father was studying in high school, it wasn't usual. But my grandfather said when he was at school, at high school, it was usual and common in Germany. You can see the generations, the different generations. Yes, uh, my country is in the middle income, and Germany is a high level income country, and Kenya is a little uh, less than my country. And you can see the change in generations. The future of my country will be like the present time of Germany, and the future of Kenya will be like the present situation of my country, and after that the present situation of Germany, and after that even better than all of them. The world is changing. It's very important. Don't forget it. We shouldn't think everything will remain like that forever. No, everything is changing. Everything is changing. If you see the income diagrams, for example, in a European country, For example, 200 years ago, or maybe 200 years ago, the situation in, for example, a European country is like Uganda. It's like Tanzania. It's not so different. The income, the poverty, everything is like the present time. But after 1 century or 2 centuries, they changed the situation. And we can change everything. We can change this situation in Africa. It's it's possible. It's possible. It's very important. Okay, what should we do? Let me tell you my suggestions. Childhood is an opportunity. When you speak with the children, their mind is full of questions. They want to ask about everything. They want to know everything. They want to ask you about, for example, the other planets, about the all of the planets, all of the animals, and everything. This is very important opportunity because this period of time, the childhood, is the opportunity to involve them with with different topics in science, in technology, in agriculture, in skills. Yes, they want to do everything. It's very amazing when you speak with a kid. He want to know everything. He or she want to do everything uh, himself or herself, and this is very important. If we should make stable the situation. If we make the situation stable for the children, then they don't need anything else. They want to know. They will try to find a book, find a person, and they will ask everybody. They will also find some television programs to know more about the future, the world, the future, the animals, everything. And we should just try to make the situation stable. And that's why I think the food and poverty is the important steps, first steps. Okay, education should be for everyone. Why? Why? If we just provide education for the rich people, okay, then the children of rich people will be educated. So they can do many activity, they can have some business, so they will be the future rich people, okay, again and again. Then the children of these people will go to school, they will be educated, they will do many activities, they will know many things, they will have many skills, and they will be the best businessmen, and again and again they will be richer. And what about the poor families? They are poor, so they cannot go to school. They don't have enough food for their children, so it's hard for the children to pass the school, so they will not learn many things. They will not learn many skills, so they cannot start a business, they cannot have good salary, so they will be poor. And the children of them will uh, play a role inside this cycle. It will continue and continue, and it's so bad. It's very catastrophic. It's the cycle of poverty. It's the cycle of poverty. And what is our duty? What is our responsibility? We should change this cycle. We should change this cycle from the educational level. That's why many countries are thinking about the free education for everyone. Because they think if you are a poor family and you are a poor kid, the government should provide you the free education. Then you can have the better future. Yes, I know in many of the poor countries, like some of the African countries, it's not possible for the governments because uh, they don't have enough money to provide free schools. Okay, but what about our social responsibilities? We cannot try. We can try for that. Yes, we can do something. I will tell you. Dear brother Usman, do you want to tell me something? Okay, I will continue. Okay, everybody is hearing me. You can write something in chat box. Then I will continue. And also, I will ask you to ask me your questions. Okay? Do you hear me? If you hear me, please write. Okay? Let me. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. Okay. I thought you are hearing me. Okay. I should tell you my speech will finish maybe after 10 minutes. Okay. After 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I will finish my speech. But it's the most important part of my speech because I want to tell you some suggestions. Okay. So please continue my. Please follow my speech. This is a photo from the place that I was a volunteer, and I tried to prepare some food, some meals for the children. They were some poor orphans, and we tried to provide them enough food because when you are hungry, you cannot understand the lessons, you cannot understand the what the teacher is telling you. And also here I should tell you something about this amazing family. This man and this lady, they were from US, but they were living in Ghana, and they established an institution. This institute was the name was Family Mentoring Family, and the idea was about making strong families in Africa. Do you know? Because when we are talking about the children, and when we say, okay, the situation should be stable for the students, for the children, okay, who can do that? Who? The most important institution in the society for this job is family. If we can re-establish the family instruction, it's very important for us to reach to our goals, because inside the families the children can uh, learn uh, to learn the educational materials and also have enough food. They don't need to think about many problems. For example, what should I eat today? Where should I sleep? And why here is so hot or here is so cold? And where should I find clean water to drink? No, no, no. The Parents will provide for them if we can re-establish the family. It's very important. When I was thinking about my speech, I saw this photo. This is my own photo. They are my parents, my father and my mother. And it's when I was a baby. And I was thinking about the situation, and I said to myself, I should appreciate my parents because the parents, the family, they are try to provide everything for you when you are a baby and you cannot do anything. You are not a profitable person. You cannot do anything. But it's something like an investment for 20 years later, and this is full of risks for a family, but our parents did it for us, so we should appreciate our families, our parents, because they did something for us that no other one can do that. So I want to tell some suggestion for African countries. I know the poverty. I know the problems in incomes. I know everything, okay? Because I was living inside the orphanage. I know everything about extreme poverty when someone don't have anything to eat, okay? But let me to tell you some suggestions. Okay, donation and volunteerism. These two important words can help us in this situation. For example, if you are a school manager, please think about also about your social responsibility. Do you know education is something a little difficult, because if you have a business, you will do something, you have some investment and you have some profit. But in educational systems, the profit should be for everyone. If the educational level of Uganda or Tanzania or Rwanda or Nigeria will improve, then this profit will be for everyone. So it's not important that you are a rich person or you are not. You cannot say, okay, I don't care about poor people. I'm a rich person, I have enough money, so I don't think about the education of others. No, it's not correct. Because if you try to improve the educational level of others, the poor people, then the profit uh, will reach to you and your family too in the future, because they will live in a more educated society, and this is the profit. So we should think about our social responsibility. If you are a school manager, so you can do many simple activities. For example, you have 100 students. Okay, they will pay fees, school fees. Okay, and 10 students that they cannot pay money. Okay, you can add them to the school. You can add them, and you can just put a chair and tell them, okay, you can use this class. It's not hard, and it's not very costable for you. You can add this part as a social responsibility, because then the future will be better in your city, your society. If you are a teacher and you have enough money for food in your family, okay, it's enough for your family. Sorry, let me check. Okay, sorry, I had some poor connection, so I came back. Okay. um, if you are a teacher, and you have enough salary, for example, for your family, and you can think about other places that they don't have money to pay to a teacher. For example, 1 day a week you can work without salary. You can go to the orphanage and you and your other friends can provide some program, some campaign in your school to provide education for the poor families, for the families that they cannot pay money, because the profit will be for all of us, for our society, for the future of our country. And also I want to tell you some suggestion about the textbooks. Okay, some of the students cannot buy a textbook, okay, because it's expensive for them. No problem. uh, I saw some of the teachers and school managers ask them to go to the home and write all of the textbooks. I think it's not a good way because it's very hard for them. I was thinking uh, about some reasonable textbooks. It's not important for a textbook to be colorful. It can be also a simple textbook with most important materials, and also without any beautiful photos, colorful photos, because it's very important to have something simple, at least something simple to learn. If you can provide it with very little money and it can be useful, it's better than nothing. It's better. As I understand, the student should buy some textbooks, colorful textbooks, and it's expensive for them. So we should provide it. It will be a good idea also for the government in African countries to provide um, cheap textbooks. It can be very simple. It can be just white and black, and also with little pages, and it can be useful for the students in poor families. Okay, uh, the person with the name Salamu Alaikum want to tell something. Please just give me a little minutes. I will finish my speech. Then we have time for questions. Okay, just let me to. Okay, uh, I took this photo yesterday. This person, Marin, was carrying the blackboard, and I was thinking about the story of Christopher in Christianity. If you hear it, do you know blackboards are very important material for change the education, change the future of students. Also, uh, I want to show you this photo here. Here is Darul Funun, an old school in my country, the first modern school in my country. It was about 150 years ago. And we have a story about the blackboards in Dar al Funun. In a famous old Persian story, a person who wanted to change the future of my country went to the capital, Tehran, and then he went to Darul Funun, and he went to a class, and suddenly he saw a blackboard, and he touched the blackboard and say, I hope one day in all of the cities in my country you can find this kind of blackboards. These blackboards are very important for the development. And yes, this is a true story. Because 100 years ago, 150 years ago, the Average income in my country was something like the current situation of Uganda. And the people, the more professional people was thinking about education. Yes, education is the most weapon, the powerful weapon to change the world. If you want to change the future of your country, education, education, education. And 1,000 times I should tell you education, education. And this uh, blackboards, these blackboards that a boy is carrying, it's very important to change the future. So let me tell you some other suggestions and finish my speech. You can use books and magazines. Yes, maybe they are expensive, but you can use the second-hand books and magazines, different books in many topics, different topics. Then the student can choose them, and then they can use these materials with self-interest, and this is very, very important. And don't forget what I told you about donation and volunteerism. You can ask the people to donate to the school to provide some free opportunity for poor students. Also, if you have money, you can donate. If you don't have money, okay, no problem, but you have time. Okay, you can donate your time. It's uh, volunteerism. It's what that's important for the future of poor countries. You can work as a volunteer sometimes. For example, one day a week, it's enough. If everyone in African countries work one day a week as a volunteer for the poor families, for the families below the extreme poverty, the future will change. And another thing about curiosity and critical thinking, it's more important than the instruments, about the smartphones, about more important than, for example, the some, for example, laptops. If you don't have anything and you just sit and speak with some students, you can change their mind. You can improve the critical thinking, and it's so important. And also flipped classrooms. It means you have just a limited time with your students, but if you do your job well, they will think about the topics after the class. And let me tell you some suggestions for high income schools, some of the international schools. They can provide different experiences for the students and also do something as a social responsibilities for the poor schools and poor students. For example, they can give a salary to the teachers and provide a time, for example, one day at a month, one day in a week, to go to poor schools and provide free lessons for the poor families. And also they can involve in international events that I told you. I had this experience in International Astronomy Olympiad. It can be useful because when you try to participate in international level, and for example you send some girls and boys from Kenya, from Uganda, from Tanzania, from Ghana to an international level, and they got, for example, gold medal. They got medals like exactly like the European countries students, exactly like Chinese students. Then the people in your country will think about that. Maybe there are no difference between us. If we try, we will be exactly like the educated people in, for example, South Asia or in European countries or in America. It's very important. And if you are interested in this experience, please send me some message, some emails. I will tell you, I will help you more about that. The future can change, and this is my context. Uh, you can send me message if you want to know more about some things, because I maybe I summarized something. And also, if you have some questions, I will be glad to answer your questions. You can write here. Let me. Why here isn't a chat box? Uh huh. Uh huh. You can write here. You can write here. This is me. You can write here your question and I will answer you. Thanks for your time. And also I try to send you some other materials. I want to help you if it can be useful. Also, don't forget my another webinar about education. I want to tell you 7 ways to improve the efficiency of your classroom. 7 ways without any high level instruments. Uh, Maybe it will be amazing for you. And if you have some questions, you can write. Let me tell you something about a question. Uh-huh. Omar Garba. Omar Garba from Nigeria asked me 2 questions. I will tell you and I will say my answer. Why in Africa and my country, Nigeria, in particular, the teacher and teaching profession are not respected and valued? I think it's the same in most part of the world. Also in my country, the teachers are thinking about that. And why the educational system of African countries are more or less outdated theories rather than sound foundation and practical education. Okay, if you are a teacher, if you are a school manager and you are thinking about this, okay, that's the point. The future is inside your hand. You can search about, for example, about the Finnish educational system, the most high-level educational system at the world, and you can provide for your students this kind of education. That's the point. That's what I'm thinking about that. Don't wait for the government. Don't wait for the society to respect you, to make some good position for you and provide everything for you to do the best job. No, you are the leader. You should start this way. You are not the follower. You are a teacher and the others will follow you. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. It's very important. Our duty is something like the Christopher. Maybe you hear the story of Christopher. Many people was watching him and they said bad things about him, but he knows his duty and his responsibility. Okay, let me check. My friend Aaron Edward, my best friend in Kampala, he said, "Thank you very much for the wonderful class." Thanks, Aaron. I will never forget your help for myself. Thanks. Okay. Um, how many times you can hold students that they are organized. How many times? I cannot understand the meaning of this question. Mr. or Mrs. Assalamu alaikum. Could you tell me more about your question? What do you mean about how many times? Also, you can send me your questions after the class. This is my email, my WhatsApp, and also we will provide, because we have your email addresses. So we will provide something. Uh, uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, let me tell you something. Maybe I understood your question. When everything is okay, when everything is well organized, okay, so the way is in front of you and you just should go. And when in some countries, like African countries, the infrastructure of education isn't so good, like that I told you about the poverty, about the food. The food is so important for the students. Then you are not just a teacher who want to go to the class and tell something and go outside. It's not it's not your duty. You have other responsibilities. You should make some structures. That's why I told you something about volunteer activities, about donations, about fundraising. Maybe you are a teacher in a school and you know many students cannot come there. Okay, you can calculate how many, for example, how many money you need for these students, and you try to um, use crowdfunding and fundraising to help them. Yes, I know. Some of the students are not ready to continue their education. That's because of the income level. Uh-huh. Nice to see you. You are from Nigeria. Nice to see you. Okay, as you know, in when the people are living in poverty, they cannot think about long time investments. That's true. That's true. For example, when I'm talking about my past, my family was providing anything for me from when I was a baby, and when I was, for example, 20 years old, it was the first times that they could see the profit of these investments. It's very long time. It's 20 years old. So that's why in poor countries the people don't want to continue education. They think, okay, what is the um, result of this education? I should go to school for years and years after years, and maybe after 10 years or 20 years, I don't know what will happen. It's better for me to go to a street and try to, for example, sell something. Okay. Uh, that's why we cannot uh, improve our knowledge and we cannot reach to the high levels. So we should speak about that. We should speak about the long time investments and the result of that. If you are living in a poor family, yes, you cannot do anything because it's out of your hand. But in the future, 10 years later, if you are living in a poor family again, it's the result of your activities. So you can change your 10 years later now with investment on your education. Thanks everybody. Thanks, everybody. I finish my speech now, and I hope you use this speech and this webinar. Also, we will send you the video of this webinar. We will publish it maybe in YouTube or other places, and we will send you the link. You can use it, and also you can send to your friends, your the teacher in your schools, or other people that can use these materials. Thanks, everyone. Bye.